My name is Anuoluwapo Omotosho, and I will be your moderator for this event. I currently serve as the appointed international student rep for the ASBC 2024 to 2025, and it's an honor serving the international student community. And I would like to say once again, welcome to our event. Okay. Before we go in, I would like to just start with the land acknowledgement for the University of Manitoba. The land acknowledgement as we consider ways of succeeding in assimilating into Canadian society. It's important to understand its history and acknowledge its original inhabitants. The University of Manitoba campuses are located on the original lands of Anishinaabe, Innuak, Anishinoic, Dakota, Ayotte, Dene, and the national homeland of the Red River Métis. We respect the treaties that we made on these territories. We acknowledge the harms and mistakes of the past, and we dedicate ourselves to move forward in partnership with Indigenous communities in a spirit of reconciliation and collaboration. Welcome once again. I would like to let you all know that this is an event where a lot of international students would be benefiting from. We have a large community of international students and Black students who would need this information, this insight to thrive in academics. And we hope for future events like this in the University of Manitoba. Just before we begin, I would like to just invite and welcome our amazing, important guest that we have right here in our midst, that will be taking us through an amazing session this evening. So are we all excited? Can I just get a response to that? Can I just get a yay? All right, just a temperature check just to be sure that we are fine. Okay. So if you're a student here, I also want you to get your notepads ready, get your writing materials, get ready to ask questions, and just feel very comfortable. This is going to be a very impactful event. I'm going to be inviting upstage Ewurafwa, also known as Efwa Opoko Agaman. I hope I got it correctly. So we have an amazing guest, an alumni of the international students, an alumni of the University of Manitoba. She graduated from the University of Manitoba with a bachelor's degree in sociology. During her time as a student, she served as both the Art Student Body Council president from the year 2020 to 2021 and the vice president 2019 to 2020, where her leadership earned her the Emerging Leader Award. Ewurafwa, also known as Efwa, is currently a student recruitment officer focusing on recruitment efforts in Manitoba and Africa. She has also worked as a business officer at Paris Economic Development Canada, supporting economic development projects for the Manitoba region. Please let's have a round of applause for an amazing alumni of the University of Manitoba. Please, you're welcome to have your seat. Thank you. Thank you, FY. It's so nice to have you here. Thank you so much for coming. Okay, so I would be introducing an amazing panelist. She's also an alumni of the University of Manitoba. She graduated from the University of Manitoba with a Bachelor's of Arts degree. She majored in political science and minored in Asian studies. She has a vast knowledge of about 5 languages. She also completed the President's Students Leadership Program at the U of M. She was involved in several clubs. She initiated the creation of the Black Students Union during the pandemic period. She was also a president of the Nigerian Students Association, also known as the UMNISA. Chimdimma, yes, I got it correctly. Works at the Canada Life as an associate in the Emerging Leaders Rationale program. Thank you so much, Chimdi, for coming. Please, you may please have your seat. Let's welcome her. Thank you so much. Okay, I have another amazing guest with us here. His name is Mr. Isaac Ora. brings a wealth of experience. He's also an alumni at the University of Manitoba, currently a senior project engineer in the Waterways and Development Department at the City of Winnipeg, overseeing major capital projects, including upgrades to the north and south and wastewater treatment plants. He holds different degrees. He's the lead Green Associate, and Isaac demonstrates a commitment to excellence. He was also a dedicated University of Manitoba Steel Bridge team leader throughout his undergraduate studies. He became a team captain in his final year, leading the U of M Steel Bridge team to a top rank in 2021 Canadian National Steel Bridge competition. Please, I do indulge you to please give a round of applause for our guest, Mr. Isaac. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much. All right, I have some students that are just, please feel free to come in. This event is for you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for taking out your time. And I want to use this moment to please, if you know any student beside you, feel free to say hi. Feel free to ask for their names. Don't be shy. They could be someone you're studying the course with, someone that would help you in your next degree. All right, so just a little icebreaker. How are you all doing today?
Good.
All right, okay. How are you all doing from the audience? Doing great, good. So let's keep that energy up, okay? Okay. So I'm just gonna be starting with a little icebreaker. And also, we have a Slido link at the ASBC's bio, just in case you have questions that you wanna ask. You can also feel free to drop them. They are just anonymous questions. All right. So just to our panelists, you could take your time, starting from Efua, then Chimdi, then Mr. Isaac, okay? Feel free, would you like to share something general that you know students would connect with, or probably a pivotal experience from your student life journey that you'd want to share and pass across to students here, or just a little bit about yourself that I probably didn't mention, something that probably would help them get through university. And if it's just something you want to share as to where you work right now, that's fine. Feel free to do that as well. And the mic is yours.
Sure. First and foremost, hi everyone. So I would say that a very pivotal experience from my time at the University of Manitoba would definitely be getting involved in extracurricular activities. I think that really sets the trajectory for where I'm at right now. I came in very timid, very shy. I wasn't really sure, but I knew I wanted to get involved. So I started out as a student at large with ASBC, and then I ran in my first election. Very nerve-wracking experience, but after I put myself out there, I think it opened up so many opportunities, met a lot of great people. I picked up a lot of great skills that you typically wouldn't get in a classroom setting. And these are skills that I use till this day. I guess I would say was definitely like a very pivotal moment for me in my student life experience.
Thank you so much, Efua. There's a round of applause for her. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Hi everyone, my name is Chimdimma.
Hi,
People
Chimdi.
usually ask me if it's Chidimma, but it's Chimdimma. And I go by Chimdi for short. My time in U of M was very interesting because there was COVID, but I'm really grateful that I got involved in student clubs in my first year. It was more like try everything. I went for orientation week to figure out what clubs existed, and that gave me a chance to see more of U of M outside the classroom, and that really set me up for success during COVID, in school, and afterwards. Really excited to be here.
Thank you, Chimdi, for coming. We really are honored to have you.
Okay, my name is Isaac. Nice to meet you all. So I'm a Bachelor of Engineering grad, a Bachelor of Science and Engineering grad. And I guess some things that were pivotal in my journey, or I guess without, which I probably wouldn't be where I am today. I'd say the first thing is the co-op program. So the co-op program gave me exposure to lots of jobs. I took full advantage of it. I worked lots. I know there's probably a few of you here that are having to pay your own tuition or stuff like that. So that also helped me do that. So the co-op program. Another thing would be the connections I made, so the friends I made. There's people that I still call up today, when I have questions or I need to just sort of, run, certain things by just to get their sort of, opinion, or even if it's just a gut check, people that I sort of really connected with. You know, a little bit about myself and kind of, you know, where I'm at today. So I work for the city of Winnipeg. You know, I'm a senior project engineer. I manage some pretty neat projects. I think they're neat. You know, somebody else might not. In wastewater, so specifically like sewage treatment plant upgrades. If you're driving down Main Street, you probably see some of the cranes, you know, off kind of opposite Chief Peguis. So I've got some projects there. Also, if you're driving, you know, down by the South Perimeter, I've got some projects down there as well. So really looking forward to chatting with you all and, you know, kind of sharing some of my experiences, and you know, hopefully you guys ask some really good questions that can get,
Yeah.
you know, the best value out of this. So.
Thank you so much, Mr. Isaac. It's nice to have you here. So if you were a student again, what is the one course you wish you would want other students to have taken, right? What is the one course you would wish you had taken, so like all the students would probably take, like that course that I didn't take this course, and you'd want other students in the room or watching to have taken that course and to have benefited from that course? It could actually not be a course. It could also be probably a club on campus.
So I don't think it exists at U of M or at courses in many universities. It would be financial literacy, especially as international students. Coming from a country like Nigeria where everything is cash, cash is king, everything is like a debit account. Credit cards pretty much don't exist. So I remember like first year orientation week, you're seeing credit cards like, oh, you can grab one. I think financial literacy would be a course that would benefit lots of students, understanding how credit works, how the Canadian financial system works, how registered accounts and things like that work. That would definitely set lots of people up for success beyond school, because when you graduate, you're an adult and you start making money. And if you don't know how to manage your money, that's not quite ideal. So that would be a course or a club that I would recommend for people to get into. And right now, there's stuff on YouTube. You could learn about like TFSAs, first home savings accounts, and things like that. Because, and another reason why I say that is that many international students I spoke to had the sense of, oh, I don't want to touch this. Oh, I'm afraid I can't have a registered account, because they didn't have that knowledge. So one thing I would say is to equip yourself, understand what that entails, understand financial literacy for Canada, because that is going to set you up for success regardless of how long you're going to remain in the country.
Thank you so much, Chimdi. That is very vital. I think a lot of students don't actually invest time in knowing how to balance not just their academics, but finances as well, because sometimes we just have to figure things by ourselves and on the way. But thank you so much for including that. All right. Mr. Isaac, sure.
Yeah, I would second that. You know, I think it's really key to understand, you know, how to manage your finances. You know, something as simple as doing your own taxes, or even if you don't do that, but understanding how taxes work. So I think that's a really, really great point. Something else I'll throw out there is maybe not so much a course or a club, but being aware of the resources that you have around you and utilizing those. You know, I probably learned about the International Center for Students, or Student Center. I'm not sure what it's called now. You know, probably my second or third year in, and I was, you know, I enrolled as a mentor after I myself was mentored, and that process was really, really, you know, helpful for me. I'm still in touch with my mentor today. You know, we still connect on you know, several different things, but you know, meeting somebody else that had sort of, you know, walked, you know, the same path that I was walking, and could give me advice was, you know, really pivotal. So I would say, yeah, just generally being aware of the tools available to you, whether it's, you know, the Math Help Center or something like that, you know, and taking full advantage of that, you know, to maximize your you know, the benefits you get while you are still in university.
Thank you so much. I'm going to just go ahead. Okay, F4?
I was just going to second everything
Yes.
you said.
Okay. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead to ask Mr. Isaac. So, you know, like what you said, a lot of students, especially international students, they come in here to Canada and they start, you know, finding a way to balance their commitments to academics, school involvement, excellent grades. Some people try to cope with balancing life, work, and bills, right? And just understanding the system. But like, you were once a U of M student, so how would you say you were able to balance your commitment to your academics, your school involvement, right? Especially because everyone here, you guys were involved in clubs, so like it's very demanding, right? So how were you able to balance that even while being a student?
In 2 words, not easily. Yeah, I guess maybe before I answer that question, I just want to kind of get a sense of the people in the room here. So, how many people here have a job or working, while kind of taking, classes and stuff like that? Okay, so a couple people.
Multitaskers.
Okay, how many people are in the club? Some sort of
I'm in
club.
a club.
Okay, awesome. How many people are having to pay their own rent or tuition or part of? Not really. Okay.
Not really
That's all right.
part-time.
So I had to do all of those things kind of simultaneously. I didn't pay, my full tuition by myself. I definitely had support from family, but I did have to sort of, figure that out. And when I say not easily, I literally mean not easily, because it was a juggling act. I don't think that there is a clear-cut answer. There's there's no magic formula. You kind of have to figure out what works for you, and kind of make that work as best as you can. But also understand the rules, right? The rules of engagement. So, at the time, I'm not sure if this is still the same now, but as an international student, you could not work more than 20 hours a week.
Right.
So, understanding that sort of dictated the kind of job that I could get, right? So part-time, where I wasn't expected to work 30 hours,
Correct.
or what have you. And then, balancing academics, I think a really integral part of your education, journey, is connecting with people, right? Like, this is not, designed to be a solo journey. If it were, you wouldn't have classrooms of 20 to how many, ever people are in the class, right? There's going to be some days where you can't make it to class, and that's just a fact of life,
Mm-hmm.
You want to be able to connect with friends that went to that class, that took notes, and, feed off of their energy, learn from them, and support them as well. So you definitely need that sort of community around you. So I've kind of talked about, money, and I've talked about education. On the money side of things, if you're not taking, so again, I'm not sure if, all these things are still the same, but back then, if you were not in regular session, you could basically work full-time hours. So I really took advantage of that. I started off with working part-time at a store in the mall, and then I got a job in construction, like physical labor, did that.
Oh, that's a lot.
And sort of progress my way up, and all those things are valuable. It might not seem like it is in the moment, but when you look back in hindsight, you will always learn skills that are transferable. You will always have skills that you can apply, and even if you don't necessarily know it, or it's not immediate, maybe 5 years down the road, there's going to be a question that'll come up, and you're going to think, oh, interesting, that's how we did inventory back there. So so it's, short answer, I don't think that there is a magic formula. You kind of have to, try different things, and if it doesn't work, drop it. But one tool that I can give you is write down your goals and check against those goals, because it's easy to get distracted and sort of veer off into doing other things, thinking you're making progress, but maybe not really the way that in the direction you want it to go. So
Thank you so much, Mr. Isaac. All right. I would also leave it open if any of the panelists would want to answer any of the questions. Please feel free to just pick up the mic and share with us. Okay. So I would like to move on to the next question. Some students have questions about picking the right courses, right? We know we have the U of M advisors, and sometimes it's more or less a thing of, okay, you have to I'm going to see for myself if this course works. But some international students are on a time limit, on a time crunch, right? So being a senior, like, you're an engineer, right? How are you sure that, okay, this field, because there are literally different fields in engineering, how are you sure that this is going to help you in this Canadian job market? Like, for the different professions that that everyone here, is involved in, how are you sure that, okay, this profession is actually the best right now, and then you are able to, like, align your courses? Because people actually, when they get here, it's a different market, it's a different job market out there, and it's very competitive. So, like, what were your navigation tools that like set you on the right path in choosing your courses? So I'll start with anyone can go first. Okay.
I guess I'll go. So I actually do work at the university. So I would say that there are a lot of resources for students first and foremost. So for example, in your first year, there is a tool called the First Year Planning Guide, and it's basically there, and it does a great job at laying out all the different potential courses that you'll take. So if you are in University 1 and you see yourself ending up in a specific program, it lays out that path for you. Or if you are in a specific program, and it still also lays out that path for you. So I'm really big on utilizing the resources that the university has to offer, because if you don't ask, you will not know. And also figuring out what your end goal is and being okay if things change in the process. Because I came in and I was like, I'm just going to do 2 years. I'm going to go straight to law school. After my second year, I was like, I actually do want to complete my degree. I want to get a full degree because I don't know what's going to happen beyond if I still want to go to law school, if I don't. So I really just decided to be okay with the change, and also still kind of figuring out, okay, what is my end goal, right? So I still do want to go to law school, but now I have a degree, and I'm able to work with that degree. And if I decide to go back to school, at least I've gained some experience. So really just being okay with change in the process, utilizing resources, as well as still kind of having your eyes on, you know, where your final end goal is, or whatever your end goal is going to be.
Thank you, Efua.
So to touch on what Efwa just said, I actually used that first year planning guide. I remember now. And looking back, it was very helpful, because then I saw what my options were. Because with the first year planning guide, it shows you like 5 different courses you could take to fulfill whatever requirement. And so I remember there came a point where a course I needed to take that fall was not available. Thankfully, I had looked into that, and then I was able to swap out that course and then take the next course and move on. So another piece with this is, in your first year, or you don't have to be in your first year, the Career Center has this test that they can help you do that helps you figure out what you're interested in. So back to figuring out what kind of job you want. I remember doing it my first week, and there were a whole bunch of stuff. I was like event planning, fundraising, finance, political studies, architecture. I was like, this is a wide range. But that gave me ideas of what I was actually interested in. So I focused on some of it through my courses, but then the rest, I got that experience from the clubs I was in. I have to say, event planning and fundraising, the idea of it sounds nice, but when you actually get to do it, it's a whole different ball game. And so that gave me the real world experience to see, okay, this is something I would like to volunteer and do, but I don't know what it will look like for me as a career because I didn't feel like I had enough information at the time. So that was another way I tested it out. You can join clubs if you're interested in finance, VP of finance or accounting. That gives you a world of experience. And in terms of trying out things too, I got involved with different like university conferences. So many people don't know this, but ASPER hosts different conferences or case competitions. So basically this is where a business comes with, they're having a business challenge, and they're like, help us solve this. And so you can come into that either as like a tech person, you can come into it as a project manager, you can come in as like an analyst of some sort, and you get to build those real world experiences. These are things outside the classroom that make a world of difference. I got to go to some conferences that helped me talk to different people, talk about different careers I didn't even know existed. And some of them are even in Winnipeg, whether that's like data hackathons or different events that are on campus. These are opportunities for you to see what's possible. Because I know coming from Nigeria, it's very like doctor, lawyer, engineer, that's it. But then you realize that there's so much more in between that you could be more aligned to your interests. And so that's where talking to people, expanding your network helps you see, 1, how you can explore these opportunities before you start working, but 2, what do you actually like and what would you like to build a career out of?
Thank you so much, Chimdi. So I'm just going to jump into the next because it's very similar to basically most of the answers we've gotten from the panelists. So in your first year, right, what would you say you did that probably set you up for, like, I think she mentioned some something in ASPER, a conference, and something else I didn't get. I'm not an ASPER student, beg your pardon. But what would you say would set you up for a better school experience, especially in your first year? Because in the first year of like for international students, basically there are resources out there, but I see for myself it's kind of the reigning thing right now for basically most students, right? And even though there are resources, they still are not open to, meeting out with mentors. And so what are those things, right, that international students can now, right, go back to? Even though we have, the resources out there are competitions out there, conferences. So what are those things that set you up? Even if it's just, okay, yes, this is the professor, that you were friends with, things like that, that would prepare international students here, especially in their first year.
So for me, I still remember a lady I worked with her in my first year and my last year. I believe she still works at the career office. Her name is Lisa McPherson. And so she was the person I did that Q&A thing with. And I remember looking back at it in my final year and being like, oh, some of these things, I don't want to actually work in them, but some of these help me explore them, or what can career options look like. And so having that relationship from my first year to graduation really helped me, because when I came back, I'm about to graduate, we both had an idea of what kind of jobs I was looking for, what kind of opportunities I was looking for. And when I said building that relationship, it wasn't like I was seeing her every year. It was more like, okay, I have a career question, career fair is coming, can we talk about this? 30 minutes a semester, 30 minutes a year. That was how maintaining that relationship really helped me in my last year as I was graduating.
Okay, thank you so much, Chimdi.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think about this one, and it's really difficult because there's a lot that was happening in first year, and I think one thing, if I was to pick one thing that probably helped me out the most, I'd say it probably was the Math Help Center. I spent a lot of time in the Math Help Center. I got to know some of the grad students there really well. Hey Isaac, here you are again. Okay, what's up this time? But that was because my course of study was very math intensive. So once I had that foundation locked in, a lot of the other courses built on that. So you can sort of take that and extrapolate that to whatever your field of study is. If you are a history or an English major, maybe it's spending time, in whatever resources are available for, writing or English, right? And just sort of making sure you have that foundation really solid. Also, I did a lot of studying with peers, so we would push each other. And I really mean push each other. Like, there are times, and I know, all of you probably have experienced this in some fashion, where you have, a report that's due the next day or even the same night, assignment or whatever, and you are just working and grinding until, the odd hours of the night. So I would say, those two things, if I was to pick, individual things, are probably what helped me the most. But, you can extrapolate from that.
Thank you so much, Mr. Isaac. I just want to use this opportunity to say that the International Student Center in the University of Manitoba, they have a vast amount of resources that international students probably are not aware of. And because you do not take the step to actually go in person or book a consultation or book an appointment, that gives you like the limit, right, to the amount of information you can be exposed to. A lot of students also find it hard to navigate the website, and I would like to say the advisors are ready to put you through all of those resources. By the end of this event, we'll also be emailing every international student present and who registered with all of the resources, some already updated, and just so like you're aware of basically what you have available, as an international student. Okay, so I'm just going to...
Before we go to the next question, something just came to my mind. So this did not exist in my first year, but now it does. It's called the Onyx Initiative, so ONYX Initiative. Anyone around me knows that I talk about this all the time. So the Onyx Initiative is a non-profit. They're based out in Toronto, but their goal is to help Black students get into careers, whether that's corporate Canada, in the trades, whatever you need. And why I call this up is because they are there to help you specifically as a Black student. That says a lot.
That's amazing.
So check it out, apply to be a scholar. You don't need to pay for that. If I knew them in my first year, I would be in a very different place now. And so check it out, and if you have any questions after, you can ask me about it.
Thank you so much, Chimdi. So the last question basically on academics before we jump into like 2 more questions. Basically, while preparing for your test exams, right now we're in the exam season, right? The education system compared to here from where you were from, right? From your countries. How were you able to like find your foot? How were you able to find your balance in just settling in and studying smarter, not harder? How were you able to learn that, okay, the system here is different? How were you able to acclimatize yourself to the education system as compared to what we are used to from your probably high school or from your countries?
I'll just kind of take a stab at this
Thank
one.
you.
So I'm from Nigeria, and back home, in high school, it'd be very typical to take like 12 courses every term. So that's a lot to digest. You pretty much would have to like cram, a day or so before the exam, just data dump, and when you're out of there, it just kind of, escapes your head. But coming here, one thing that I found worked for me, and I do want to sort of say that this is not necessarily going to be the case for everyone. Everyone is different in how they study and retain information. But one thing that really worked for me was progressively following along with the courses. So really, doing the assignments, not just because they have like a, grade or a weight associated to them, but to understand, like I remember, a lot of my friends back then saying, hey, C's get degrees, which is true. But, when you come out of it, like if you don't know your stuff, you'll have a hard time. Like this is the truth. So, that worked for me, just progressively following along, making sure that, when we covered each chapter, I really had a good understanding, of it before we moved on to the next chapter, staying on the ball with my assignments, tutorials, reports, those sort of things.
Okay, sure, go ahead. Thank you.
I'll also add, go see your professors. I'm a huge advocate for this. It's sort of a cheat code because every time you go to your professor, a lot of them love to talk about their subject area they're teaching, right? They're very passionate about it. So you present your assignment to them, even if you understand every single thing, literally utilize office hours because then, they help you with your assignments, right? So now even with tests, you know what to study for. Some professors might even just say, simply because you came to my office hour, oh, you don't have to worry about XYZ, focus on this, right? So now you're more efficient when it comes to studying or writing your papers or, putting together an assignment. So you really utilize your professor's office hours.
Okay, one more.
I just want to second that. Like, sorry, as you were talking about that, something came to my mind. I had a prof once that straight up gave me the answers. And he was like, you come here every Tuesday at my office hours. This is what's going to come out. Study this. And like I did and got pretty close to 100%, like on that one exam. So like that is like actually like a cheat code right
Be
there.
friends
So,
with your professors. That's the cheat code. Thank you so much. Okay, so I would like to add on to what he said and what they said. Office hours. Office hours are there for a reason. They literally leave their doors open for you to ask questions. So take advantage of that. Be friends with your professors. It will take you a long way to give you more opportunities. Okay, so how were you able to land your first summer job or your first job after grad? What were the steps you took? Did you attend conferences? Who connected you to who? What is the cheat code, literally? Yes, I'm just going to be real with that. Thank you.
Okay, so I was heavily involved with ASBC, and at that time, the vice president had just gotten a position with the government of Canada. So I put myself out there. First and foremost, do not be afraid to put yourself out there. Plug yourself everywhere, please. Literally just advertise yourself. So I told her, I was like, hey, because at that time I was working I was a student working at the student life office as an office assistant, and that was a position that was going to be ending after I graduated. So I let her know, and she's like, sure, if this new project is coming up, if they need people, I'll let you know. Literally a week later, she was like, yeah, they need people, presented my resume, and a week later I had a job waiting for me even before I graduated. So make connections, it's super important. Every job I've had so far, even after graduation, has been through the people that I met at the university. So make connections, put yourself out there, be open to new experiences, because once again, you need stuff to put on your resume. You can't just put all the stuff that you've done in class. So employers really like to see the different things that you've done during your time as a student, because that shows that you can balance and you can multitask, right? So put yourself out there, connect with people. That's what's helped me.
Thank you so much, Fua. Okay.
Okay, so I agree with that completely. Somebody once told me, don't do the rejection, for the employer. Apply and let them be the ones to tell you no. So apply. Just put your resume out there. But what if I said you do need stuff to put on there. So so you might be trying to get this particular job that okay, this is exactly what I want to do, but it doesn't work out. Look for something else. There are jobs that are proximate to that thing you want to do. I wanted to get my first engineering job in my second or third year, something like that, and I didn't land anything. And so I went and I worked landscaping, and actually in the middle of that term, because of a connection from university, so you see similar themes here, I got an interview at an engineering firm. And I went, I did the job, did the interview, got the job. And once that was on my resume, in addition to now having like field experience, I got my hands dirty, right, as a construction worker, in landscaping. From there, like the dots just connected. The next year I got another co-op job, and so on and so on and so on. But for actual tools, there are career fairs. Attend those. There's the reverse career fair. Participate in that. I know lots of people that have secured jobs that way. Like cold call, like for real. Like don't reject yourself for the employer. Like call them and ask them, hey, like, are you hiring? Go to their office, and just drop off resumes. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Isaac. Okay, just one more.
So mine was also through networking, so really involved on campus. And networking doesn't just have to be in person, it can also be LinkedIn. So everybody here, I encourage you to have a LinkedIn profile. The career office can help you set one up. That's a great way to see what jobs are out there, what recruiters are looking for, who they hire, and build your skills that way. And it was also back to getting out there. Like in school, I was in clubs, I attended conferences, like I mentioned. ASPER is a great place. If you're thinking of starting a business, there's this Stu Clark Center for Entrepreneurship, and there's NoteForge. So that too is a path. You don't have to go into corporate or anything like that. So those are opportunities you can explore and actually get funding and build a career if that's what you want.
All right, so I think someone mentioned about TFSAs and investment. So we have a question from the audience. You spoke about YouTube channels. So the person's asking, like, what are the YouTube channels you can recommend to be educated about TFSAs and investments?
Okay, so when I said that, there was a playlist that came to mind. So on YouTube, Wealth Simple has a playlist that talks about 101 of finance. But then if you're looking for something more wider, the National Bank has financial literacy. You just search that. They have like a course. You can do different modules that teaches you about financial literacy. And then if you want like POV of Canadians investing, there's Exo Rennie. So she's Nigerian Canadian, and she has a financial literacy page. There's also Dan and Steph. They're a couple based in Toronto that talk about finances and how they're building their career. So those are some resources that will be very helpful.
All right, thank you so much. So I'm going to use this opportunity to say we have someone in our midst just towards the end after the panel session. His name is Hafiz Jato, who will be speaking about occupational safety that is in your workplace as international student, how to prioritize your safety. So please look forward to that. That'll be happening very soon. And just our last question for our panel session. If you were to advise your younger school self, what would you say to them looking back so far? Or what would you advise to them? Thank you, Efwa.
That it's all going to work out. I know that sounds like a very generic response, but like one bad grade is not going to define your entire university degree. If you start out interested in one subject area and decide to change your mind, that's fine. It's all going to work out.
Thank you so much.
Mine would be to learn about financial literacy.
Okay.
This is kind of I guess opposing, theories, but I would advise myself to work harder. So try and get better grades because it does matter. And then I would also tell myself to have more fun. So, it sort of works against itself, but those are the two things I'd probably tell myself. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm just going to add on to what he said, because for me this year, I think what I prioritized the most was scheduling every single thing on my calendar, because you would think you know yourself to do this, but you end up not doing it. But if you have that on your calendar scheduled, we have lots of study apps, like Notion app, we have lots of tax management apps that'll just help you invest more in your study time, especially as students. But thank you so much, everyone, for giving out your time, your knowledge, your insights, your information. I'm so honored to have you on this panel. I'm so glad that a lot of international students will be benefiting from this, and thank you so much for coming. Please, a round of applause for our panelists. Thank you so much.
Yeah, like Anu said, my name is Hafiz Jatto. I'm also an alumni of the U of M. I came here in 2015 as an international student from Nigeria, and really agree with everything that was said on this panel, right? So being connected to your community, finding out what you're passionate about, and connecting those two things to, chart the course of your career would be very helpful. Supports on campus. The advisors now in the International Center can help you with immigration matters. So, that's always a source of anxiety when your permit might be coming to an end, whether it's getting a postgraduate work permit or just extending your study permit. Really, I'm here to talk about a session I have at the International Center on Friday, May 9th. It's on occupational health and safety. Like I said, I came to Canada as an international student. I have a labor studies degree from here, and I work on a lot of labor and immigration policy. So I've worked at the city of Winnipeg, I've worked in government, and right now I'm working at somewhere called the Occupational Health Center. It's a workers' health clinic, and we have a temporarily funded project by the province of Manitoba to research the issues international students have in the workplace. So when doing this work, and also as an international student, it's seeing things that we all know, right? We face issues with accessing information. We face issues with racism and discrimination in trying to find a job. And looking at the raw hard stats, the importance of connection is it helps you find jobs that you want to work. A lot of us are forced into survival jobs while being students and after we graduate. And within the first 3 years, the median wage for international students is 20% less than the median wage for Canadian students. So let's say a Canadian student after graduating earns like 65K, international student is gonna earn like 50K. Because we're not connected, because we're not tapped into the hidden job market, and because we're again having to take survival jobs to fulfill our pursuits of becoming a PR. But as you're doing that, health and safety at work is important. So come to this session on May 9th. We'll have food there, probably jollof rice. You learn about the rights you have as workers. You learn about the pathways you have to seek recourse if you're hurt at work, right? Like workers' comp and stuff like that. So really appreciate you all being here. I think there's another session in an hour and some food at the back. And thank you, Anu.
I find nowadays that we're talking about 25 hours is not a big deal.